No, when was I born? No, I had to Google when how old I am based off the year I was born. I Googled my birthday. You have a wiki page for Dynasty? That's an interesting idea. All right, let's get the Epic Pen up here. It's throwdown time. Epic Pen. This is what I use to draw on your guys' stuff. It has terrible hotkeys, but I like it. I can even like highlight stuff. So many colors too. Delicious. All right. Need to move this over here. All right. I'm sorry if there's anyone that's joined and hasn't posted crits yet, or art for crits. Later, Stubbles. Thanks for hanging out, man. Good hearing from you. Okay, so this is a scene full of the props. Tay props by Breddington. I don't know. So you didn't say what you wanted me to say about the props and stuff. I'm assuming there's supposed to be walls. So because there's no walls, it's actually quite jarring to understand the space. It's prop-tastic. So even though it is kind of difficult to understand this space, Mika, what's up? What's up, buddy? It's pretty cool. I'm liking the so you've got some crazy like angled props, which is interesting. Like they're curved. Is it because I keep drawing like not straight? Is that because this actually looks like it's bending, but it also looks like the only thing that's bending like that. You've got a little bit of angles happening here. This looks straight. This is kind of doing that one's not. So other than this door and these shelves, it's not really doing as much. The walls are DLC. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Oh, if people only understood. So if you're going for that kind of stylized bent objects and curved materials or curved assets and kind of bending things around, on the next one you can see a bit better. Okay. I would say that, oh yeah, okay, cool. I would totally exaggerate that more. Not the door, but just like taking these points and ending them maybe offsetting it a bit here, and then like instead of having them being perfect, like maybe have some of these narrower and then widen up, and then just so you get some variety in the shapes. This stuff's really cool. I really like the direction you're going with. These shapes are really cool as well. Oh man, that's interesting. I mean, everything's looking really cool here. I think that your ceiling needs to be solved as far as like those shapes being kind of curved or skewing. Be careful with skewing the table, just because it'll make it difficult for you. You could skew the legs a little bit. Maybe they do that. Maybe they're wider at the top or wider at the bottom. This one's really cool and is just begging to be like inflated in the mid portion. There's still block out. Okay, cool. I wonder if so for future reference, and you don't have to do this. What playlist is this? This is my my discovery. There you go. For future reference, just so it's easier for people that are critiquing your stuff, things that are blockout, maybe you'll have as a different gray. Possibly, that would really help, I think, because then I could be like, oh, okay. Like, if I knew that this was a blockout, I could say, okay, well, because that's a blockout, I understand why it is not skewed yet or whatnot, and then maybe I can give some suggestions as to how you could. But that's just small details. Overall, it's pretty. Overall, it's pretty good, dude. Your body is the shit, is what that song just said. Dang, son. So one thing, even though there's no walls, like I'm starting to get a good understanding of the space as far as how everything is like kind of spaced out. Be careful with this space. Do you see like so all of this space is like let's see here. I'm just gonna start marking them. Dun, 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 dun. So all that space is pretty even, you know? So everything is pretty evenly spaced out from each other. If you can start building some composition as to where things are at on the wall in order to, it's like feng shui of the feng shui of the wall propping, if you will. Like this boiler thing, or whatever it is, or even this one, everything is up against the walls right now, right? And then you have the table just in the middle here. What about moving the table back this way a little bit? Here, we'll do it with this color. Moving the table back this way a little bit, and then taking something like this guy and bringing him out here. So that way you start getting darker shadows behind props that really change the depth that's happening where the walls start. Because right now, everything is going to have roughly the same shadow size, roughly the same ambient occlusion behind it. And when you start pulling objects away from the wall, not all of them, some of them, things like this guy or this guy, making this guy bigger maybe. But when you push those away from the wall a little bit, you'll add space behind them, which will break up your shadows. It'll give you a bit broader ambient occlusion, and it will also, on maybe like a subconscious level, it'll make your walls not so flat. Hopefully that makes sense. Like you could even take some of these, like all these are going this way. Taking some of these and then bringing it down and then out and then back up. And then maybe having like something big like this under it or behind it. That will help a lot. And then just make sure that the spacing between your props isn't so even. But yeah, I think that's all I can say for that scene right now, without like flooding your brain with bunches of stuff. I'm gonna zoom in on this because reasons. All right, so I'm not a character person, just so we're aware of that. What's up, Steven? No, so we're going with the new schedule currently. So you are a little late, and we are on critiques already. So Mondays and Fridays I'm streaming now from 7, which is the time I was streaming before, just on Mondays and Fridays, but I'm cutting it an hour early. On Mondays, it's either something I discovered or a subject you guys want to talk about for up to an hour, and then critiques for an hour. On Fridays, it's a portfolio review with examples and stuff to help support the portfolio review, and then another hour of critiquing. So there's less time for me to do my personal art, but there's more time for you guys to learn things. Yeah. How not to game? What's up, man? How you doing? I will take that question and then move forward. Damn, my work be harsh. I want to learn. You're like, your work be harsh? Dude, my work be harsh, bro. So how not to game says, hey, I'm a college student, or I am a game artist student going to college. I've been working on tree bark and substance designer for a project in UA4 for the games college. Could you possibly show me how I might go about doing this one project? And any feedback on a recent and completed bark? Am I able to show you? Yeah, you can post it in the Discord. If it's for a project and you have a timeline and a deadline, I would highly suggest just either sculpting a bark piece and then grabbing the height map of that bark piece and then just splattering it in Substance Designer, or splattering, whatever it is, to build your bark. See how that works out for you. Just because of time, I would just go that route. It doesn't have to be 100% Substance Designer. You're probably trying to learn Substance Designer, and I totally understand that. But just, yeah. I've never thought of that. I'll be here for the next 45 minutes. I kid. Anyways, all right, back to this guy. I got a guy to full caps. Amazing. So the tail for this guy is in a really weird spot. I would expect maybe it to be more up here. And then a day cheeks around day tail. Other than that, I think definitely look, sweet butt, bro. Definitely look at anatomy, and don't worry about these types of details right now. Just work on where muscles are, like where they pin, how they overlap, why a muscle is where it's at, or why the mass is where it's at. And that'll help you, I think. Dude, that bark looks pretty fucking sick. I would suggest making the darker part a little deeper in the depth. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I think that's all I can say about it for now. I mean, I'm not a character artist, but I'm sure there are people in my Discord that are, or in our Discord. He doesn't need to sit. True. Or is that a tail? Maybe that's why. But yeah, pay attention to, like, look at tons of reference. See if you can find breakdowns on lizards or crocodiles, alligators, and then because it's a biped, and it's got wings, you need to be looking at all the other reference. Now, as far as learning ZBrush, dude, nice. You'll get the hang of it. I look forward to seeing the updates. Figure out how things connect, and how they taper, how they end, how this stuff connects. Is it curved like this, or is it curved like that? You know, all those details. You get those, and you'll be in a good spot. Leon, I did grab some of your stuff, so we should be able to look at your stuff. This in general looks pretty cool. I like all the details that are happening. I'd be really careful with what do you call it? Yeah, you're gonna need to push your character around a bit to get your anatomy to be working. That's why I'm like, don't focus on those smaller, like, sharp edge details right now, and just work on, like, your form. Bob, that's not the point, man. He wants wings on it, bro. We gotta get wings on it. How do you make that work? We'll make it work. Gotta find a way. I'm like, Bob, come on, man. So be careful with adding little micro details. We're going yellow. The very first thing I ever modeled was a helicopter. No, it was a USB stick. It was a really complicated USB stick, though. You meant without without arms. So adding really small details adds a lot of busyness. Like this area here, all high frequency, right? That area is high frequency details there, high frequency in there. So I assume there's high frequency back there. I like in this area, we'll use blue. In this area, I like that there's details, but they're in shadow, so it's kind of like it's implied detail. Oh man, the USB stick, I don't even know where that's at anymore. That was like in 2000, that would have been in 2005. 2005. I don't even think that thing was a gig. So with those details, be careful with the amount that you have of those details. You want to have a ratio of 30-70. 70% areas of rest. An area of rest is an area like this. This is a concept rule that a lot of concept artists follow. Those are areas of rest. They're broad areas where it's pretty smooth, right? Or there's not a lot of details. 70% that, and then 30% of this stuff. And you'll be in a much better spot. And when I say an area of high frequency detail like those, like they would be like you have it in this area. The frequency is quite small, but then like it's compacted in high detail. And then the rest area is 70%. See, when you're this close, like because the legs aren't included, this shot is already more preferable. This is my checkboxes. Yes. How the arm connects, I would definitely look into doing something more with that. Currently, it's just kind of like a tentacle, which is maybe is what you want. If that's the case, having a tentacle coming out of, like, if we're looking at the front here, let's just do this. So if we're looking at the front, here's your guy, right? And then his body. Here's his body, okay? And then you have his tentacles coming out like this. For usability reasons, that seems very difficult to utilize the tentacles. You would probably want them down here. So that way they're already coming out to do stuff instead of being over and then having to go out to do things. They're already in a position of what do you call it? They're already in a position to attack. It's not defensive. It looks more like aggressive. That's the word. Freaking brain's melting, man. But the areas of rest ratio without the tentacles at the bottom this looks much better because of that. But yeah, this area looks really cool. I would just be careful with, like, this is good that you have this area and this, like, that's all pretty, like, it's got detail on it, but it's relatively smooth. So that's pretty nice. Gives you some area of rest. Like this area in here is pretty detailed, and that might work if you take this disc and make it bigger, because then you'll have a larger area of rest. And if you have that, then you could probably get away with that. Sweet Dashy, I'm being ignored. No, you're not, man. I'm in the middle of critiquing someone. What did you say? Ah, you said greetings. Greetings, dude. And then what else did you say? What is this? It's a robot, I think. It's some type of robot. I don't know if it's based off real reference or... It looks pretty cool, though. I like... So this... Man, we're moving really slow. I need to kick it up a notch. So this fabric stuff, if that was broader and longer and had like a pattern to the way it's positioned, you'd be in a good spot, I think. That's how you could get some of your areas of rest back while keeping the tentacles the way you want them. No. Okay. Onward. So this. This is DevG. This is the reference image. And this is what he's building. Let's see here. So before texturing all this stuff, I would totally model out everything. So if you model out this trim, right? So model that out. And then bring this up. It looks like there's like pillars up there, maybe like little micro pillars. So you could get some really cool like shadowing back here. And then there's, wait, what the fuck? It's reflecting. I see what's happening now. The ceiling is reflecting somehow. Maybe it's water or something. I was like, is there a second sarcophagus on the ceiling? And then I'm like, no, it's reflecting. Now I'm like really confused. Like the whole ceiling is just... Is it a mirror though? Because it would be really strange that there would be a mirror in this scene. Either way, model out everything, get it all blocked out so that you know where everything is and you get all the scale and all that stuff correct, and then start to build like one pillar, and then you can duplicate that pillar across. You could build one vase or vase and then duplicate that around. Build one of the torches on the wall. The other thing is count how many bricks or stones are on the wall, and and double check that yours counts the same, because right now yours feel very large, and then you've got like in your normal map it's wrapping pretty heavily, so they're very rounded versus the reference. And then your roughness is crazy right now. I don't know what's going on, but it's like really, it's really reflective. But if you get all of the modeling in first, then you won't even see this reflectivity stuff because the ceiling will be solved and all that. Simply a plane without roughness. That will work, but it won't look as interesting. Like I would definitely like do a plane and then hand author a really nice roughness that breaks up the image in specific ways, and if you can get more interesting with it, because a smooth mirror is like not as interesting as like if somehow they were suspending liquid on the ceiling and like at certain points you can see it dripping, so then you get nice little puddles on the ground. Oh man, there's so many cool things you could do with that. The other thing is your pillars are wider here than they are up here. And I'm trying to see. They are here as well, but it's much more subtle. But yeah, just get everything modeled out. It'd be super sexy. So I criticize modeling. No, I critique it. I try and do it in as positive as a fashion as possible. I think criticizing implies that I'm gonna like shit on your stuff. In general, this is looking pretty cool though. I feel like it might be the FOV. If you make the FOV wider, you're probably going to get an angle that's more in line with this, but make sure that this length here and this length are correct with the reference. I can't tell if it's long enough or not. It's a small room in life. I'm now an art critic. Oh, les sigh. Yeah, make that FOV like, make that FOV like 45 or something. Make it crazy. Try and get it to match the concept. So now we've got a chair and a table. Man, these are really nice. Curious Antics, making more furniture and whatnot. We'll zoom in on this so I can start looking at. You do art as well? Awesome. You should join the Discord and share stuff with us. We're all trying to get better. I've been doing games for a little while, but I mean, you can always get better. So this edge here is just like a seam, right? I'm assuming, based on how it was unwrapped. There's another one here. So make sure that those are okay. And make sure that, let's see here. The wear on where people sit is wear on where people sit. Looks pretty good. And the wear in general looks pretty good. The darkening up here feels a bit strange to me. I'm not sure if that's like a normal error, like a normal map error, or if that's if that's being painted in. As far as the resolution, I think it is being painted in because now I'm starting to see it a little bit here as well. As far as the resolution goes, I would totally... you're not going to get the normal that you're hoping for on this edge if you do it this way. You can use Substance Designer's lighting did that. Okay, so it's probably your normal then. Just because it feels strange. Like the lighting shouldn't do that. Anywho, if you could, I would suggest making this wood material and then this paint material. Baking out the normal map for your chair, putting that in your first UV set, and then in the second UV set, uniquely map all of your UVs, probably what you have in your first UV set, and bake down the mask information, and then just tile this material and this material. So make two materials and tile them together, and make this out of a mask. Substance Algorithmic has posted on Unreal on the marketplace for free a shader that allows you to get the normal mapped edge from the mask. So you should be able to feed it a mask and blend between your wood material and your painted material, and then that shader should give you the normal mapped edge. You will get a much higher resolution texture out of this, mainly because you can tile the material as much as you want, and then the mask is what is driving the resolution. Because a mask is black and white, I mean, you can make it pretty high res if you want. Here's the other asset, which is the chipping and stuff here is not as consistent as the other one. It feels like the scale is off maybe because these dots that you're getting are strange. There's also, it looks like you've got a normal map error here, which essentially is like that edge there and this edge. This normal versus this normal. Oh, I'm drawing in the same colors. This normal and this normal are pointing in two different directions instead of both pointing up. And because they're pointing in two different directions, where it ends, where they meet, that seam is basically where the normal changes direction. So fixing that up, like it's happening on the other side as well. And it looks like there's also an error here, which I don't know. Maybe because you're mirroring? I'm not sure. Anywho, other than that, the details up here are very, they're very soft. They're not as hard edged as your other asset. I don't know if that's supposed to be chipped as well. But like you can see, the reason this one's working so well is because the transition from paint to wood is such a harsh edge. Where are we? Oh god. Oh geez. But yeah, in general, I mean, these look pretty cool. I would try and bring in some other material elements just so that visually it has more interest to it than just paint and wood and chipped paint. Make sure that your paint has a different roughness value, most likely less rough than the wood material under it. That way you get some play in the roughness range. Play of the light across your surfaces. And then maybe taking like the bottom of these, or like maybe this little cap disc thing, and then these guys, and making them like a metal, like a brass or something that's also has age. That way you're getting a lot of variation in your roughness, which will really look really good in most. It will look good in all PBR engines, just because PBR based assets or physically based materials only look as good as their range. If you don't have any range on it, you're only looking at one type of roughness. And that leads the viewer to not truly be on a subconscious level convinced of the material they're seeing. Once you add brass, you get a really reflective material. Then you have the paint as a little less reflective, but not as little reflectiveness as the wood. So that variety, that breakup, it just adds infinite detail to your asset, or implies so much detail. And then look at the scale of the mask on this versus the other asset. It doesn't feel like it's chipping right now. Nice stuff, though. All right, Pixelcraft. What is this? Pixelcraft. This is from Sumi Tsukio. Is this your stuff? So this looks pretty cool. This is cool too, how this pops up. That's awesome. So I guess just to get some breakup in it, I would make the bolts not have as much paint on them. Yeah, I only create 3D models because like my 2D, I'm not a 2D artist, so I don't want to like tell people, oh, that doesn't look good when I don't even know myself. You know what I mean? Like I can make some educated guesses, but I don't want to put people's work in that position, if that makes sense. Yeah, Barbarian's like, I remember looking at old furniture and it was crazy how much the edges get damaged almost uniformly. Yeah, it's really weird, right? Now, the untrained eye, or the eye of your average viewer, will look at it and immediately see procedural, even if you follow reality. Sometimes you have to do things in order to help lead a non-artistic mind to understand what you're doing. that way their mind stays on track instead of being distracted or thinking differently about your work. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Beveling these edges, removing the paint on these or less paint on them, changing the roughness value of the exposed metal and or rust versus this oxidized material will go a long way. A long, long way. And it's so annoying. Reality wins again. If you could, let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah. So if you could, I would totally, so this is straight right now. If you could bend it, that would look really interesting. So like where these meet, like if it went like this is a side view, and then went up and then back down, and then you had your other metal piece here, and then the bolt, you would get a lot more like light play around this area, which will draw attention to the way that things are interconnected, which will help a ton. Any way to explain how things are put together and getting away from anything like those hard edges or these hard edges gets you further away from what looks like 3D. After you get away from what looks like 3D, the mind just has such an easy time being convinced of what it's looking at as real instead of 3D, even though obviously we all know it's 3D, right? That's why really good looking games just hit the community so hard, and they're just like, oh, it's just so sick looking, and it's just the believability is there because they're not being distracted by the reality that it is 3D. This is looking pretty good. I don't really have much to say on it. Maybe the cloud pattern in the roughness is a little, like, it looks okay here, but it's very uniform throughout the rest of this. Make sure that all of your roughness has purpose to it. Like wherever it becomes rough, it's rough because of this and this and this. Like everything has to have a reason in your roughness channel. Crit roughness. Crit that roughness. In general though, I mean, it's coming together. It's really cool to see how things are lining up. These bolts here, like this one's strangely close. Like I feel like it's close to the edge. It needs to go over just a little bit, and over here it's even closer. Maybe like right there. Just give them some breathing room. Bolts got lives too, man. I would totally get some fog or something in here to try and get some of this stuff coming in later once you get everything in and blocked out. I mean, everything's basically here. It's just a matter of starting to tune those materials. This stuff down here looks a little round. Like this face doesn't become flat enough, I guess. Like kind of looks like it feels like it's curving still in the normal throughout the top part where it should be a flat, like normal facing straight up. Does our art need a safe word? Let's see here. All right. Moving on. This looks pretty good though. I mean, I'm really liking where things are going. I would just keep moving forward and we'll start poking at it as you get further along. So I saw the sculpt of this, which was really cool, like detail wise in here. But you can see like all that detail gets lost mainly to like it's probably the normal that comes with this blending with your sculpt. That's the main reason that I tend to sculpt without adding small details. Like I sculpt all the primary elements because your detail normal and the normal of your tileable material tend to fill in all of that information. The other thing with this texture is to just be really careful with which way the pits in the normal go, as well as the contrast of them. Like basically you're seeing a lot of dots of darker value, and if you can like average that out, you'll get a better result. Like this area here looks pretty good, so I'm guessing it's probably in the normal. You fix the tileable. But yeah, I would just concentrate on how the rock was broken, and that'll tell you a lot about how you should be sculpting the, like if it's blunt force, you can see the bottom is chipped here. This had to have fallen from a high place and hit the ground and then fractured, and then that piece fell off. Now, if it fractured like that, the fracture on the inside is actually going to be quite smooth. It'll be faceted, but it'll be a pretty smooth break, if that makes sense. All right, onward. Where did this come from? I'm like, I don't see that in the thread. Like, where did I click that? Hang on here. This looks fucking cool, by the way. I don't know if this is being posted because someone's sharing it. This is not Joe. This is just sharing. Maybe I need to split the critiques from the art. Shit. Dude, this looks badass, though. Pretty fucking cool. Clickbait thumbnail. Yes, please. It looks like a dog. It kind of does. That's crazy. Oh, shit. It was textured. It got textured. Oh, man. Okay, these materials look pretty good. These look pretty nice. I especially like this area. Like somehow you got all that detail in there, but it's not noisy. I think it's because there's not a lot of contrast. If it was used a lot, think about how like if you were to rub, you know, that blade from using it all the time, the more outside points, not the inside cuts, but like the furthest outside grip pieces, you could have that kind of plasticky paint wearing away a bit and starting to show more of this type of metal. It doesn't have to be reflective metal. It could be dark because it's been oiled by the palm of your hand, you know. Be careful with the gradients that are happening on the edge here and this edge. This looks like it's just a generating error from like Substance Designer or Substance Painter. And then make sure that your blade isn't so dull. It needs to be more reflective. And you could probably use your roughness to try and make the blade look like it's brushed in specific directions. It's pretty cool though. Pretty cool. It's looking ace. And the nice variety, there's a nice variety of roughness right now. Once you get that blade more in line with like how reflective it should be, it's gonna look sick. It's gonna look super cool. All right, got a block out here. Let's see. So this is pretty much everything is whipped. Still wanted to show some progress. Nice. This is super cool. I'd be careful with the like place a guy here. Whoa. Place a guy you can see. Place a guy here. Hello, I'm a guy. I'm this tall. Place a guy there and get an idea for scale, because I have no idea what the scale is of this stuff. But right now my gut instinct is that these feel really large. Like maybe they need to be either shrunken down or taller to try and, because they're very wide, which makes them very, it's right now it's really top heavy. Yeah, I would scale those down possibly, depending on how big a character is. And also the size of the tiles on the ground is very large. And I'm just going based off the stuff in the background here. But in general, I'm really liking the details. I would think about taking this trim piece and extending it so it's further out than the beam. Oh, I had a measurement in the last image? Okay, hang on here. 191. 1.9 meters. Okay. Let me see if I can. You scale the lamp up, so it's 2.4 meters. Usually lamps would be about 3 plus. Yeah, it's just something about the top feels really large for the width or diameter of this and the diameter of that. Just pay attention to those scales. But I was saying that if you could take this piece and bring it forward so that it goes in front of the pillar, that'll be a nice way to break up the pillars from just going a straight line all the way up. And that would also allow for you to take this type of facade detail further to help the breakup of the pattern. Because like right now, like this line here is really straight, right? And if you do the facade thing, then you can come in and you can do this type of stuff. And then start the pillar again. So you can start the pillar there and start the pillar there, but you have all that breakup that occurs, which helps with your silhouette. In general, it's looking pretty cool though. It's really coming along. So we got, what is going on here? Miradad with a stone material, like a stone wall with grout. Dude, the material is really cool. The music has died. Hang on. So I really like these lines that are happening, because they tell me kind of, they give me an idea of what's going on with the stone itself. It's like, is it layered stone? What's happening? For the medieval scene? Cool. It looks really, really nice. I would suggest, based on if this meets the ground anywhere, to have a version where you can paint, vertex paint the base, and it makes the stone just a little bit darker. Some elements of the stone would stay kind of light, so it's kind of faking that porosity of the material. So as a material, the porosity of a material will depict how much of it, how much water is absorbed into a material. So the more it's absorbed into a material, the more it becomes darker, more saturated, and more reflective, of course, right? Or the roughness value changes. So like by doing that, you can get some really interesting looks where essentially when you vertex paint down here, some of the stones start to get a little darker. Spots of it stay light because of the material that's in it isn't absorbing water. And then where the grout is, that stuff really starts to absorb the water. So then that stuff in the inside gets darker. That contrast would do amazing things for breaking up this material. I think it would look really cool. In general, though, this material is really, really well done. I like it. It's nice. This refracting glass is pretty cool. You know, it's not cool. This room, it's getting warm in here. So the thing I would say is you need a way for it to be resting. Oh man, we're gonna need another color. A way for it to be resting on a table easily. This is that same scene too. I'm just noticing. Maybe something in it, like a stick or like a mixing spoon or something. A stirring stick, just so that you get an idea of what's happening with the refraction, and then probably lowering the refraction a little bit. It's only going to get warmer. Oh man, I can only hope. But yeah, you definitely need something to be holding this. Like either it's sitting on a platform or it's being held up by a thing like maybe like this, and then that has legs and a base to it or something. Let's see here. Onward. We only have a few more minutes, so I will only be able to get to the rest of what's in here. There are 6 more images to go through. This is looking pretty sick. This is looking really cool. This is, let me make sure I'm getting the right people. This is Leon. So I used my color texture that Edgesoft and XNormal created in Substance Painter. In my opinion, the Substance Normal looks better than the XNormal one. I did a quick render. Yes. So in general, this looks pretty good. I would say don't try and push any roughness values or reflections or trying to get the material to look a specific way until you get it into the rest of the scene. Build your scene out. If it's not going to be in a scene, I would say it just needs like a age layer, essentially where it's raining, where stuff builds up, like on the tops of these. It's kind of happening here. You can see like that lightning stuff. Maybe some bird poop if it's outside. Got to get that bird poop in there, guys. Got to get that bird poop. Anything that could build up anywhere. And then whatever is, even if it's dust, dirt, something, whatever's building up, just get that. This is photogrammetry. Anything that you can use to build up on it will give it that variety that we see in games, like material breakup, roughness changes. In general, though, this is pretty cool. I need to do some photogrammetry myself, and then we should stream it and talk about it. Welcome back, Kyle. Back just in time for the goodbye. M, I just noticed that you gave me a donation. Thank you very much. I don't know who you are, but you love what I do, and I should keep it up. Thanks, man. 30 bones, dude. Does that give me... I think I just met my goal. Oh my god. So badass. That was 37 minutes ago. I apologize. I didn't see that. I'm not hearing the beeps or messages. Doot, doot, doot. Oh, Kyle, I won't be able to get to your stuff, but people should look at it. Kyle makes cool stuff. He streams too, so if you want, click his name, follow the channel. I would go into, so you were talking about building a low poly off of this. In your high poly, if these guys aren't part of this mesh, totally remove them when you're going to build your low poly. Or, what is it? Yeah, remove them if they're not going to be there in your low poly. You could separate these out from your high poly, and how do I say this? You could separate those out from your high poly, and then when you decimate this all down, you can grab all the faces inside of here and all the faces inside of here, delete them, cap those openings, and then poly connect them to just give you flat surfaces. And then here you can boolean in a sphere that's in the same position that's cheap enough after you've capped this whole piece. Like delete all of that, boolean in a sphere of a certain poly count that you feel comfortable with that lines up, and then that's your low poly. That'll be much easier than having to do retopoing, and you'll get to keep a lot of your edge dents and whatnot. Oh man, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. No worries, man. Always ways to approach it either way. Oh, why? Oh, look, I see the wall piece now. Yeah, your roughness is strange based off of like how smooth it's supposed to be in this material. And then count your stones and make sure that they're the right size. Count your stones and make sure they're right size. Whoa, easy. PG-13, my God. This is cool. This is a cool breakdown to show like how you've done this. I really like it, actually. And the little lines that you're getting, like artifacting from the banding of the alpha, is actually working pretty well for what you've done here. Anyways, okay. I'm sorry, guys. I rushed through those last ones. I got to get out of here. It is 9:02. I will see you guys on Friday. We will have a portfolio review, and then we will have more critiques. And yeah, maybe I'll post something art related soon. My God. Oh, the heat. No, thank you guys. Thanks for the donation, Mr. M. Leon, How Not to Game, Mushio, Bronson. Thank you for the follows, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you on Friday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until then. Later, guys.